In the warm lived-in apartment that serves as the heart of One Day at a Time, the audience is immediately drawn into the everyday chaos of the Romano Cooper household, a setting that perfectly encapsulates the spirit of 1970s American television comedy. The episode opens with Barbara Cooper wrestling with a poetry assignment, an innocent enough task on the surface, yet one that quickly reveals deeper layers of adolescent anxiety, familial expectation, and the universal struggle to create under pressure. This opening sequence masterfully sets the tone for what becomes a double-episode exploration of teenage insecurity, the bonds of sisterhood, and the delicate navigation of single motherhood. As a classic sitcom from the era, One Day at a Time shines here by transforming a mundane school project into a rich tapestry of humor, heart, and subtle social commentary on the pressures facing young people in a rapidly changing America. The script begins with Barbara's earnest but hilariously unsuccessful attempt at poetic expression. The tall ship sailed gracefully into the horizon. It sailed so fast you couldn't keep your eyes in. These lines, delivered with the awkward sincerity of a teenager out of her depth, immediately endear Barbara to the viewer. Portrayed with youthful vulnerability and sharp comic timing, Barbara embodies the relatable plight of the good student suddenly confronted with a subject that resists easy mastery. The 1970s were a time when educational expectations were evolving, with creative writing classes gaining prominence in high schools, as part of a broader cultural shift toward self-expression, influenced by the counterculture movements of the previous decade. Yet for Barbara, this assignment feels less like liberation and more like a looming threat to her academic record, highlighting the persistent pressure on children of divorce to excel and prove their worth. Enter Schneider, the building superintendent, whose larger-than-life presence provides instant comic relief. His well-meaning but absurd contributions, such as the impromptu poem about mozzarella getting wet without an umbrella or his self-aggrandizing ode to his own reliability as a super is a man on whom you can depend, showcase the fetidity, shows brilliant use of physical and verbal comedy. Schneider's character, with his tool belt, casual swagger, and endless supply of pizza-related wisdom, represents the blue-collar everyman who injects levity into middle-class family dramas. His suggestion that Barbara write about something she knows, using himself as an example, leads to one of the episode's earliest laugh-out-loud moments. The toilet bowl repair verse, with its playful rhyme about arriving before your toilet bowl man, captures the show's ability to find humor in the mundane while gently satirizing adult attempts to connect with teenage creativity. In the context of 1970s sitcoms, such neighborly interference was a staple, reflecting the close-knit urban living arrangements common in apartment buildings during an era of economic uncertainty and shifting family structures. As the scene unfolds, the audience witnesses the familial dynamics at play. Anne Romano, the resilient single mother portrayed with a perfect blend of warmth, exasperation, and quiet strength, returns home from a trying day at work. Her interactions with Barbara reveal the high expectations she holds for her daughters, born from her own experiences and the desire to shield them from the hardships she has faced. When Barbara expresses fear that an F in poetry class will lead to her mother's disappointment, it strikes a poignant chord. Anne's line about expecting great things echoes the broader societal narrative of the time, where single parents often placed immense pressure on their children to succeed as a form of validation for their unconventional family setups. The 1970s marked a period of increasing divorce rates and greater visibility for single mothers on television. And One Day at a Time was groundbreaking in portraying these realities with both humor and empathy rather than judgment. The pizza motif, recurring throughout the opening, serves as more than mere set dressing. It symbolizes comfort, domestic normalcy, and Schneider's role as an unofficial member of the family. Barbara's reluctance to eat due to her anxiety, "I'm too uptight to eat," humanizes her struggle, showing how academic pressure can manifest physically even in a supportive household. Julie, the older sister whose own path has included dropping out of college, offers a contrasting perspective. Her encouragement, mixed with sibling teasing, underscores the complex bond between the sisters. Julie's admission that she earned an A in the course, only to spoil her record with subsequent failures, adds layers of irony and relatability. In 1970s America, where youth rebellion and academic experimentation were common, Julie represents the free-spirited older sibling who has already tested the boundaries that Barbara now cautiously approaches. The dialogue flows with the rapid overlapping rhythm typical of the era's best ensemble comedies. Lines like "great poetry was not built in a day" and the reference to "plop plop fish fish," a playful nod to cultural touchstones, demonstrate the writer's skill in blending highbrow literary aspirations with lowbrow humor. Barbara's desperation peaks as she contemplates failure, leading to the introduction of the plagiarism temptation. This setup not only propels the plot but also delves into ethical dilemmas faced by adolescents under stress. The script handles this with nuance, avoiding heavy-handed, moralizing in favor of warm character-driven exploration. Throughout these early scenes, the performances implied by the transcript sparkle. Barbara's growing frustration, Schneider's boisterous energy, Anne's mix of concern and practicality, and Julie's sardonic wit create a believable family unit. The apartment setting itself with its lived-in details like the oven-warmed pizza and scattered papers grounds the story in the everyday realities of 1970s. Middle-class life amid inflation, changing gender roles, and evolving educational norms. This attention to domestic detail was a hallmark of Norman Lear's productions, allowing audiences to see their own struggles reflected with humor and dignity. As Barbara's poetry crisis deepens, the episode subtly introduces themes of perfectionism and the fear of letting down loved ones. Anne's pediatrician anecdote about not winning them all offers gentle wisdom, yet it does little to alleviate Barbara's immediate panic. The pressure of perfection, particularly for daughters in single-parent homes, resonates strongly, even today, but carried special weight in the 1970s, as women entered the workforce in greater numbers while still bearing the emotional labor of family stability. Barbara's insistence on originality, "I just want them to be original," reveals her innate integrity, a trait that will be tested as the story progresses. The seamless integration of humor and pathos in these opening minutes exemplifies why One Day at a Time remains a landmark sitcom. It does not shy away from the genuine emotional stakes of a teenager facing academic failure but tempers them with Schneider's ridiculous poetry recitals and the comforting aroma of pizza. This balance allows the audience to laugh while recognizing the underlying tensions of growing up in a non-traditional family during a transformative decade. The writer's appreciation for timing is evident in the way jokes build upon one another, from the tall ship failure to the mozzarella mishap to Schneider's toilet bowl heroism, creating a comedic crescendo that leaves room for quieter character moments. Further enriching the analysis is the historical context of mental and creative pressure on youth. The 1970s saw increased awareness of adolescent stress influenced by post-Vietnam cultural introspection and the rise of self-help movements. Barbara's hyperventilation imagery and paper bag suggestion, though played for laughs, nod to real anxiety, coping mechanisms of the time. Her plea not to tell her mother about the trouble underscores the parent-child communication gaps, common in the era, gaps that the show consistently explores with insight and affection. In these foundational scenes, the script establishes Barbara not merely as a plot device but as a fully realized young woman navigating identity, creativity, and responsibility. Her interactions with Julie hint at the collaborative yet competitive nature of sisterhood, while Anne's presence looms as both support and source of pressure. Schneider functions as the Greek chorus of comic wisdom, his pizza-fueled advice bridging generational divides. Collectively, these elements welcome the viewer into a crisis that feels intimately personal, yet universally relatable. The episode's strength lies in its refusal to rush. By lingering on Barbara's creative block, the writers allow space for character development and thematic setup. We see the toll of expectation on a bright young girl who has internalized her mother's hopes following the divorce. This pressure is not portrayed as villainous but as a natural outgrowth of love in challenging circumstances. Anne's exhaustion from her own workday spills over into family life, illustrating the double shift many single mothers endured in the 1970s workplace. Dialogue gems abound, such as Barbara's sleepy recitation of "After Roses Are Red, I'm Dead," which cleverly mocks her own limitations while foreshadowing the poetic misadventures to come. The humor derives from authenticity rather than exaggeration, a testament to the show's writing pedigree. As the family disperses for the night, with Barbara remaining too uptight to eat, the audience senses the gathering storm. This measured pacing builds anticipation for the moral and comedic complications ahead. Ultimately, this opening crisis serves as a microcosm of the larger narrative. It introduces the audience to the core strengths of One Day at a Time, Its ability to find profound humanity in small domestic struggles, its celebration of flawed but loving family bonds, and its gentle satire of the era's social shifts. Barbara's poetry woes are not trivial. They represent the broader quest for self-expression and validation in a world that demands performance. Through warm observation and sharp insight, the script invites us to empathize with a young girl's perfectionist anxieties while chuckling at the absurdities that make family life enduringly entertaining. The stage is masterfully set for the ethical dilemmas, misunderstandings, and emotional reckonings that will follow, all while maintaining the show's signature blend of laughter and tenderness. In 1970s television, few series captured the nuances of single motherhood and teenage growing pains with such consistent grace and humor. This episode, right from its poetic beginnings, reaffirms why the Romano Cooper household continues to resonate decades later.